I never thought I would find myself in this situation. From the very beginning, I knew my heart was not in it, yet I allowed the wedding to happen. Society, family expectations, and the fear of being alone pressured me into a decision I would regret for the rest of my life. I met her at a mutual friends gathering, and she was kind, beautiful, and sincere. There was something about her that drew people to her instantly, and everyone around me seemed to notice it, except me. I appreciated her, certainly, but love was never there. I tried convincing myself that love could grow, that companionship could turn into passion, but deep down, I knew it was just not meant to be. The day we got married was full of smiles, blessings, and celebration, but inside, I felt hollow. Everyone told me how lucky I was, how I should cherish this moment, and how she was a perfect match for me. I nodded politely, smiled when expected, and played the part of a happy groom, but the truth was far from the picture-perfect wedding everyone imagined. I didn't hate her, she was wonderful, perhaps even extraordinary. The problem was me. I had no love to give, no warmth in my heart for her, and no excitement about the life we were about to start together. In the first few months of marriage, I tried to adjust. I told myself to find joy in little things, to notice her efforts, to appreciate her smiles, and maybe, just maybe, my heart would follow. But it never did. I watched her caring for me, preparing meals, asking about my day, and dreaming of a life where we were inseparable. Each time she held my hand or looked at me with love in her eyes, I felt a sharp pang of guilt. I knew she expected affection, warmth, and love, and I couldn't deliver any of it. I gave polite attention, small gestures, and occasional words of kindness, but my actions were hollow, my emotions absent. She deserved so much more than what I was offering. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Our conversations became routine, practical, and shallow. We discussed bills, groceries, and occasional work matters, but the spark that makes two people want to spend forever together was missing. I watched her laugh at things that didn't even make me smile. I watched her hope for plans that excited only her. And every time, my heart felt heavy because I knew I couldn't be the person she needed. The thought of leaving her crossed my mind many times, but each time I imagined the hurt in her eyes, I froze. I couldn't bear to be the source of her pain, yet I was already causing it silently by staying in the marriage without love. Sometimes, I tried to imagine what it would feel like if I truly loved her. I pictured moments of tenderness, shared laughter, and comfort during hard times. I imagined holding her close at night, speaking words from the heart, and feeling joy in her happiness. But reality would not follow imagination. I remained detached, an observer in my own life. I began noticing her sadness, the subtle ways she tried to get my attention, the attempts to spark intimacy, and the quiet disappointments in her eyes. And every time, I felt guilt, shame, and helplessness. I knew she would never blame me directly. She was too kind, too considerate, and too selfless for anger or complaints. Instead, she internalized the emptiness I brought into our home. One evening, I saw her sitting quietly by the window, staring into the fading light. I didn't know what to say. I wanted to speak, to explain myself, to confess the emptiness I felt inside, but words failed me. I wanted to tell her that my lack of love was not her fault, that she had done nothing wrong, that she was everything anyone could wish for, but my heart simply couldn't feel what she deserved. Instead, I sat silently beside her, wishing that somehow, she would understand that my presence was not love, that my companionship was hollow, and that the life we were living was not what either of us deserved. The moral of this story is painfully simple, yet so difficult to accept. Marriage without love is a gift neither person truly receives. She gave her heart to me fully, with hope, faith, and trust, and I could not reciprocate. Every day I spent in silence, guilt, and emotional emptiness reminded me that love cannot be forced, and pretending never creates happiness. I often wonder what would have happened if I had been honest from the start. If I had spoken my truth, perhaps she could have found someone whose heart matched hers, someone who would cherish her the way she deserved. And perhaps, I would have avoided the lifelong regret I now carry in silence. Even now, years into this marriage, I live with the shadow of my own choices. I see her efforts, her small gestures of love, her quiet patience, and my heart aches with the knowledge that I am incapable of returning the same. I watch her hope, dream, and invest in a marriage that I cannot reciprocate. Every smile she offers, every time she reaches out to me, I feel both admiration and deep sorrow. I have come to realize that love is not just about being present, it's about caring deeply, about connecting, about giving without hesitation. I am present, but I am absent. I am near, but my heart is elsewhere. And she, the woman who deserves everything, lives a life where love is one-sided, a painful truth that I cannot change, only acknowledge. In the end, this story is a confession, a silent acknowledgement of failure. I married without love, and in doing so, I brought sorrow to someone who deserved joy. I confess this not to shame anyone else, but as a lesson to myself and perhaps to others. Love cannot be faked, it cannot grow out of obligation, and it cannot survive on convenience alone. If you find yourself in a similar situation, be honest. Speak the truth, even if it is uncomfortable, because honesty preserves dignity, respects the heart, and may prevent years of silent regret. Marriage is sacred, a union that should celebrate love, trust, and shared dreams. When love is absent, no matter how kind, beautiful, or sincere one partner may be, the marriage becomes a silent prison of unmet expectations, guilt, and sorrow. I live with this reality every day, a lesson written in regret and heartbreak, hoping that others may learn before it is too late. I never imagined the day would come when she would finally give up on me. For years, I had been emotionally absent, physically present, and entirely detached from the marriage I had entered without love. At first, I thought that maybe time would change everything, that routine and shared life would create some bond between us. I watched her care for me, sacrifice for our household, and dream about a future together, and for a long time, I told myself that my heart would eventually catch up. But deep down, I knew it never would. I had no love for her, and every attempt to convince myself otherwise was a failure. For months, she tried everything she could to bridge the distance between us. She planned small surprises, cooked my favorite meals, dressed elegantly for me, and tried to create moments where we could laugh together or share a quiet intimacy. Each effort, though done with love and hope, was met with my indifference. I was polite, sometimes even warm for a brief moment, but the genuine affection she longed for never came. She sensed it, of course. No one can give so much and not notice the absence of a matching heart. I saw the disappointment grow in her eyes, but I told myself to stay quiet, hoping she wouldn't confront me, hoping she wouldn't leave, even though she deserved so much more than what I could offer. One evening, the change became undeniable. I returned home late from work, exhausted and indifferent as usual. She was sitting on the couch, quietly reading, but something was different. There was a stillness about her, a calm resolve that I had never seen before. I greeted her, expecting the usual warmth or attempt at conversation, but she simply nodded, barely looking up. I tried to make small talk, asking about her day, about dinner plans, about the children if there were any. She answered politely, but each word felt like it was coming from someone who had decided not to care anymore. I felt a strange panic in my chest, though I couldn't name it at the time. Part of me realized that this might be the moment I had been dreading, the moment when she would finally stop waiting for love from me. The next few days were filled with a quiet tension I could not ignore. She stopped trying to engage me in conversation beyond what was necessary. She stopped planning activities or sharing her thoughts. I noticed the small signs first, the untouched tea I used to drink with her, the folded laundry she no longer tried to fold neatly for my satisfaction, the slight distance she kept when walking past me. Each gesture was subtle, almost invisible to an unobservant eye, but for me, it was a loud and painful confirmation that she had given up. I felt a mix of relief and guilt, a confusing blend that made it hard to breathe. Relief, because I no longer had to pretend or fear confrontation. Guilt, because I realized how deeply I had failed her as a husband. I remember one night, I found her in the bedroom, sitting on the edge of the bed with her hands clasped tightly in her lap. She looked up at me, and for the first time, her eyes held no hope, no expectation, no longing. I had never seen her so quiet, so emotionally distant, and yet the silence was screaming louder than any argument we had ever had. She said simply, "I cannot do this anymore." Her voice was steady, almost calm, but each word pierced me deeper than any harsh accusation could. I tried to speak, to explain, to apologize, to justify my lack of love, but she held up her hand and shook her head. "There is nothing to explain," she said. "I gave you my heart, my trust, and my hope, and it was never enough. I cannot live in a marriage where love is absent. I tried, but I am done." Hearing those words was like a mirror reflecting my own failures. I realized, in that moment, that love cannot be forced, and no amount of compromise, politeness, or presence can replace the absence of a heart that truly cares. She had given everything she could, and I had given nothing in return. I felt shame, a deep, hollow shame that gnawed at my soul. I had lived years in comfort, thinking I was sparing her pain by staying, when in reality, every day without love was a silent wound that hurt more than confrontation ever could. I had robbed her of the life she deserved, a life filled with passion, care, and mutual respect. I had robbed myself too, but I only understood that now. The following weeks were a strange blur. She began making plans for herself, focusing on her own happiness, reconnecting with friends she had set aside for our marriage, and rediscovering interests she had abandoned to nurture a relationship that never flourished. I watched from a distance, unsure whether to feel relief, sadness, or both. She moved with purpose, not with bitterness, but with quiet strength. Each action reminded me that she was reclaiming her life, her freedom, and her dignity. I could no longer be the center of her world, and I understood, finally, that it was entirely my fault. The life she created for herself now was a testament to her resilience, a silent rebuke of the life I failed to give her. In this process, I began reflecting on my own behavior. I asked myself why I had entered a marriage without love, why I had allowed fear and convenience to dictate the most important decision of my life, and why I had been so blind to her feelings for so long. The answers were uncomfortable and painful. I realized that I had been selfish, cowardly, and detached, hoping that life would somehow conform to my emotional limitations. I had ignored the reality that love is not just about presence, it is about participation, about emotional investment, about giving without expecting anything in return. She had given everything, and I had withheld the most important thing, my heart. The moral of this story is clear, yet harsh. No one should stay in a marriage without love, neither the one who cannot give it nor the one who deserves it. Pretending may delay heartbreak, but it cannot prevent it. Honesty, however difficult, allows both people the chance to seek fulfillment, happiness, and genuine connection elsewhere. My wife's decision to give up was not a failure on her part, it was an act of courage, self-respect, and self-preservation. She chose herself over an empty relationship, and in doing so, she demonstrated the strength it takes to walk away from something that cannot sustain her heart. As I live with the consequences of my choices, I carry regret every day. I wish I had been honest from the start, that I had acknowledged my inability to love her fully before she invested so much of herself in me. I watch her live, smile, and thrive from afar, and it fills me with both pride for her and sorrow for myself. She is free, whole, and happy in ways I cannot provide. I remain a silent witness to the life I could never share, a reminder that truth, honesty, and courage are far more valuable than polite compliance or fear of loneliness. Ultimately, this story is a confession, a painful acknowledgement of the cost of marrying without love. It is also a lesson, a moral for anyone considering marriage or commitment. Love cannot be faked, forced, or postponed indefinitely. It must exist, be nurtured, and be freely given. Otherwise, one day, the person who once waited patiently and lovingly will reach their limit, and when they give up, the emptiness left behind is a wound that never fully heals. I learned this too late, but perhaps sharing it can help others avoid the same pain, the same regret, and the same silent sorrow that now fills my days.